Hello, my name is Julie, and the holidays are fast approaching, so I need to do a book haul. I would say close to 50% of the books that I get in a year are in the month of December, between gifts from other people and then like end of year book sales. So even though this haul isn't the largest I've ever done, it needs to happen so my end of year haul isn't ridiculous. So yeah, I'm just going to talk to you about all of the books that I got since my last haul, which I think was in May. So this is actually a pretty small haul. I think I have 16 books to talk to you about. First up, I'm going to talk about the books that I got from my book boxes. So I am a subscriber of Book of the Month. I don't get a box from them every month, but when I do, I usually pick more than one. I get something from their backlist. So I have 3 boxes to go through. One of them is coming in the next couple days, so I'll insert a clip. But let's start with our first one. I do not know which box is which. Maybe I shouldn't have scissors so close to my face. Let's see which box this is. Okay. I didn't know I was getting this. So Book of the Month is doing these things called Volume 0, which are short story collections by authors that they have collaborated with before. And this was included in my box as a short story. A Spell for Disappearing by Abby Jenny. I've not heard of her, but cool thing that they have started to include. But this box includes The Pairing by Casey McQuiston. This is Casey McQuiston's most recent rom-com. This is about 2 exes who end up going on the same wine tour of Europe, and they are essentially going to have a hookup contest across Europe. But of course, they're actually really into each other. I have had a very good track record with Casey McQuiston. I gave One Last Stop like a 3.5. I gave a very strong 4 to Red, White, and Royal Blue. And I gave Shara Wheeler, unpopular opinion, 5 stars. I love that book. I might save this for summer because that's what it feels like, but I really just do adore their work. And I'm so glad that I can talk about this book now, because when I bought it, it was still during the press boycott of the publisher. So now I can actually talk about wanting to read it. And the other book that I got was a backlist one, which was As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Katu. So this is a YA fiction novel that is about teenagers during the Syrian Revolution. As our main character is watching war break out around her, she still wants to stay in her home despite all the terrible things that are happening, so many people wanting her to leave, and she wants to help preserve her home. I have heard only fantastic things about this book, and I know I have been reading less YA fiction lately, but I still think that this is something that would really resonate with me. And on to our other box. I do know what is in it now that I know which box it is. We have 2 books here. The first of them is Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. Oh my goodness, this book is huge. That's exciting. Okay, the print is really big. I read Sally Rooney's Normal People a couple of years back and absolutely fell in love with it. Have I read another one of her books? No, but I need to fix that. I have Beautiful World, Where Are You right here. This is about 2 brothers who are grieving in the wake of their father's death, and they are both pursuing romantic relationships at the same time, and it's bouncing back and forth between their perspectives. And I just trust Sally Rooney with just about everything in me because of how successful Normal People was. So I had to get my hands on a copy of this, especially because this is going to be cheaper than the regular hardcover. And the other one I got was a different Book of the Month pick for this year, and that was The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. So this is a little bit of everything. It's historical fiction, mystery, suspense about a teenager who went missing from a summer camp in the 70s, and this is following the search for the missing girl. But I have heard that this is more about the emotional journey of the characters rather than just the mystery. It's sort of been pegged as more of a suspense novel than mystery. I have heard such great things about this from so many different types of readers that I was immediately sold. I mean, I'm gonna be super honest. I was really sold from the pink slime on the cover. That gave me a horror vibe that isn't in this book, but something about this screams favorite to me. I don't know. And my last book of the month box has not come in yet, so let's let future Julie unbox that for you. It's me from later. I did get that last book in the mail. I'm so excited. I was just not expecting this to be a book of the month pick, and I am so excited to have, yay! The Teller of Small Fortunes by Julie Leong. I am so excited, first of all, to have a fantasy book, a cozy fantasy book by a Julie. Like, this is so exciting. Our main character is Tao, and she is a migratory fortune teller, and she only tells very small fortunes, won't tell anything big about somebody's life. But a former thief and a reformed mercenary come to her asking her help to try to find a missing child. And this sounds like exactly what I want. Besides the fact that this has a magical cat in it, this cover is maybe everything that I've ever wanted in my entire life. I hardly ever cover buy, but like, this gives off a vibe that screams favorite to me, and I am so excited that I have this. Also, this is new. I didn't see this on my other books that I got this month. They've changed what they've done with the back cover, but look, they've got the front cover just muted on the back. I don't know how I feel about that, but I'm so happy to have this. This was the only book that was a November release that I had considered could be a Goodreads Choice Award pick. It wasn't. I didn't think people really knew about it before the release, but now I'm actually seeing people talk about it, and I am... This looks so good. Now let me talk about the two books that were sent to me by publishers. The first of these was The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. This was published by Mary Sue Ritchie Books. Thank you so much to them for sending this to me. This is a suspense novel where our main character's father was a hotel magnate, and he ended up falling off a cliff of one of his properties and dying. The police rule that there was no foul play, but her stepbrother isn't convinced, and so she is being brought in to try to help figure out what actually happened to their father and learn more about his life. He compartmentalized a lot of his life, and so his kids don't know a lot about him. This came out on October 1st, so I did end up reading this already, and I ultimately felt like this book didn't do a whole lot. This book is really short, and I didn't feel like I was emotionally attached to the characters. The main characters in the modern timeline I didn't really care about, and then the past timeline where we're actually seeing the father and his relationships, I felt like those chapters were really redundant. And then the mystery was very basic, so there wasn't a whole lot that was working for me for this one. And the other one is a book that was already published but was being released in paperback, and that was Bright Young Women. Again, this is Mary Sue Ritchie Books. This is about the female victims of a certain serial killer in the 70s in Florida who ended up killing a bunch of young college women. And the book, very pointedly, never names the specific killer, but wants to dig into the lives of the people who are actually the victim, who are overlooked for the sensationalized killer. I almost read this for my Reading Booktuber's Best Books of 2023 video, and I regret not reading this so much because I have really only heard extremely positive things about this. So definitely looking forward to reading this one. Then I had one more book that was gifted to me, and that was because I won an Instagram giveaway for something off of my Amazon wishlist. So I was gifted In the Weeds by B.K. Borison. This is the second book in the Love Light Farms series. The first book, Love Light Farms, was my favorite romance of last year and was one of my top 10 favorite books of the year. I just absolutely adored the style of the romance. It felt very realistic while still having strong tension between the characters and, you know, relationships to root for. In a realistic rom-com, like having like not problematic relationships between characters is so important to me. It will make me mad and not want to read the book. So I really trust B.K. Borison because of that. And this one is following one of the other people who works on the farm and a social media influencer who we saw in book one. They had a one-night stand and have met again in book one, and this is their story of having that second chance. Next time I feel the need to pick up a small town romance, this will definitely be the one that I pick up. Then I've got a good number of books that I bought myself. I pre-ordered myself Graveyard Shift by ML Rio, and I have already read this. I read this entire book in one sitting because it is 100 pages and the print is huge. This is a horror novella about 5 people who meet up regularly at a graveyard because it's the only place that they can smoke on campus. And one day they find a hole dug in this abandoned graveyard and they are trying to figure out why someone has done that. This has a very low average rating. Not a lot of people are liking this book, but I ended up really liking it. This to me felt like a short film. This felt like a snapshot rather than a full thing. Do I think that this book could have been improved by being a full novel? Yeah, I do think I actually would have liked to see it, but I did think that this did the novella format justice. Ultimately, I was so sucked in by the vibes of this and figuring things out and jumping between our different characters to see all the different ways of how they're going to come together to solve this. I had a lot of fun, even if you may not. This has like a 3.2 on Goodreads and I'm mad about it. Barnes & Noble was having like a buy one get one 50% off sale, so I picked out a couple books that I had been anticipating. The first is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley, which am I regretting buying now? This is a classic murder mystery that is set at this luxury resort that is having its opening night. Somebody dies, we've got to solve it. I really enjoyed The Paris Apartment earlier this year, and then I read the guest list and thought it was just meh. And now I'm worried if I'm gonna like this. I didn't think that this was getting fantastic reviews either, so I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't have bought it. Blame my partner for saying, oh no, you should get it. And the other book I picked out was Chlorine by Jade Song. This is a literary horror that I have been dying to read. This is about our main character who is a teenage girl who is on the swim team. She's queer and she's really like unsure of her body and all of the pressures that are put on her body, and she believes that she is turning into a mermaid. I know that this is going to be a favorite book. The 2 authors that this book has been like recommended in conjunction to, I have quite enjoyed their books, so I have been told that this is going to be a book that I'm gonna adore, considering some of my favorite horror. I love horror as a metaphor, and sapphic coming-of-age horror sounds exactly like what I want to read. Then I have a couple of books that I picked up discounted, so giving a chance to some books that I might not have picked up if I had seen them full price. The first of these is Falling by TJ Newman. This is a thriller that has been recommended to me because it is planes. I'm an aerospace engineer. This is about a flight that is doomed because the pilot's family has been kidnapped, and the pilot is being blackmailed to crash the plane to let his family go free. This is like a countdown thriller and something that I think I would be really into. And I bought this while my boyfriend and I were on vacation in Denver. So this was a nice little souvenir to grab for a local bookstore. And I also picked up The Mimicking of Known Successes by Malka Older. This is a novella that is supposed to be sapphic sci-fi Holmes and Watson. So that definitely intrigued me. It says a cozy gas lamp mystery and sapphic romance set on Jupiter. I don't think I need to know a whole lot more to know that I'm interested. Novellas don't always go perfectly for me, but I think that this one is a safe bet. And of course, I got it super discounted at my Books A Million. Books A Million is not my chain bookstore of choice, but it is the one that is in my town that I live in now. And the one great thing I will say about them is they consistently have a good bargain section. Barnes & Noble does not have that. And the other book that I picked up from the bargain section was The Stars Undying by Emery Robin. This is a sci-fi space opera that is inspired by Antony and Cleopatra and Julius Caesar and all of those people. I've heard like it stands up well as a space opera and also as a reimagining and interpretation of the Roman Empire and the Ptolemaic Egyptian Empire at the time. I have had this on my radar for a while, but I've not heard of anybody that I know actually reading it. So if you're telling me that Roman history and possibly Shakespeare are going to be put in a sci-fi setting, sign me up. And I do have 3 more books to talk about, and they are all audiobooks that I got, and I have already read them. But the first of these is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This is one of my favorite books that I've read this year. This is a YA mystery about our main character, Pip, who, to do a senior project, she is trying to solve a murder that happened in her town that affected people around her. She knew the family of the boy who was accused of killing his girlfriend, and she believes that he was innocent, knowing his character. This is told in interview format. I am actually listening to the audiobook of the second book right now, which is absolutely unheard of. I do not continue in series that quickly because I love this book so much. I really love the audio of this particularly because it is produced as if it is those interviews. Has a full cast, has sound effects and filters put on the characters to make it seem more realistic. So I really super enjoyed the first book and I cannot wait to get in the second one. Another book that I bought on audio was Ready or Not by Cara Bastone. This is another one of my favorite books of the year. This is a romance about our main character, Eve, who after a one-night stand has become pregnant, and she has decided, even though she's not with the baby's father, that she is going to keep and raise the baby. And this is a very sudden life change for her, especially because she has found herself kind of stagnating in her life, not really deciding things and just letting things happen to her. And this is like a coming of age journey of her figuring out what it is she really wants in life, as well as it being a sweet romance with her best friend's brother, who she's been friends with for her whole life. This has just about everything I want in a romance. It is such a strong coming of age plot mixed with the sweetest romantic lead I have ever read. And I think the audiobook definitely was the move for this because the way that our main character talks is very comedic, and I think that the narrator brings that to life in a way that possibly wouldn't translate as well on the page. And the last audiobook that I have bought myself is The Burning White by Brent Weeks. This is the fifth and final book in the Lightbringer series, which is a high urban fantasy-ish epic fantasy series that I have been reading for years and years. I probably read the first book in like high school or something and have really been dragging my feet on. Every single time I read one of these books, I forget how much I liked the series. Kind of been holding off on this final book because I had heard pretty bad things about it, even from fans of the series, but I ended up quite enjoying this one. While there is a little bit of like Deus Ex Machina coming in at the end of this series, I do think that this one still had some of the strongest scenes, and you know, I love seeing the arcs at the end of our characters as we have seen them change so much over the course of 5 books. I haven't mentioned what the series is about. This is a fantasy series in which the magic system is based on the light spectrum, and so certain people, when a certain wavelength of light hits their eye, they can use that to strengthen themselves, or they can then create a physical material that relates to that wavelength. It's one of the funnest magic systems I've ever read. It's got some of my favorite characters that I've ever read, good and bad. I just really don't talk about the series enough because there are some things that aren't my favorite about them. Especially, I did not really like book 4, but I definitely do think that finishing out book 5 was totally worth it. So those are all the books that I had to talk about today. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what books you have picked up for yourself recently, and if you've read any of these, which one should I read next? I actually don't really have plans on reading any of these specific books immediately, but if I need to change that, you let me know. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to find me anywhere, you can find me at that link in the description to everything I do, and if you want to see more of my videos, you can hit that subscribe button, and as always, I will see you in the next one.